Chapter 2 Veronica POV.
You're getting too good at this, V.
Lion, one of the allied warriors, said, breathing hard.
Thank you for the compliment, Leo,
I said before I dodged his sword. I swiftly moved to his back and hit the back of his neck with my elbow, making him fall down.
Shit,
he cursed as I laughed and pointed my sword at him.
Victory for Veronica and the green team,
the referee said as the other warriors cheered for me. I walked out of the arena and to the Philip, who throws me a bottle of water.
Don't overexert yourself on training,
he said as I shrugged.
I'm not. I'm just revealing stress,
I said as he looked at me in worry.
I know what you're thinking,
I said as he sighed. V, how long are you going to keep avoiding him as a whole?
It's been 3 days and the prince is walking around restless,
he said as I sat on the grass leaning on a tree.
I don't know. I need time, I guess,
I said as he joined next to me.
Don't worry, we will come up with a remedy,
he said as I smiled and nodded at him.
Is he your boyfriend?
A familiar voice filled my ears.
Noah,
I said, shocked to see him in front of me. He was glaring at us, his hands in a fist. He was surely angry as his eyes shined through indication activation of his power.
Prince Noah,
Philip said as he stood up and bowed at him. I immediately followed him and bowed down, showing respect. But Noah only kept staring at us. Well, glaring.
Do you need anything, Prince Noah?
I asked as he makes a ticking sound with his tongue.
Yes, I do. I need to speak to Veronica. Alone,
he said, his voice strained. I stared at him wide eyes, not knowing what to say.
Is there anything she did, Prince Noah?
Persona... Philip started to say, but was cut off by him.
The matter has nothing to do with you. My business here is with Veronica,
he said angrily. Philip was going to say something, but he was once again cut off by Noah.
Do you want to go against the prince's order, Sir Philip?
Noah raised his eyebrow at him and emphasizing his name. I could feel Philip getting angry, and I quickly grabbed his arm.
Go, I'll manage,
I said as he looked at me in worry. I nodded my head, reassuring him as he sighed and walked away.
You wanted to speak to me, Prince Noah?
I asked as I looked at him. If I keep matters professional, I wouldn't have to worry about anything.
What happened? Is it something I did?
Because I have no idea what, and surely we can always talk it out, he asked, his body language suddenly changing. He now looked helpless, and it took very damn fiber in me to not embrace him and tell him everything was all right.
What do you mean, Prince Noah?
I asked as I tried to keep my face and voice free of my pain and emotion.
Why are you calling me Prince?
He asked, taking one step at me.
You are the prince,
I said as he raised his brows.
You are a princess too, but that is not what I meant, and you know it as well. Why are you running away from me?
He said as I gulped and stepped back.
I didn't,
I said as he shook his head.
Both you and I know that you are lying,
he said as he took steps closer to me.
I moved back, but my back hit the tree.
I looked around and saw everyone stop their training and was now watching us. At the corner of my eyes, I saw Philip stand there, all prepared to interfere.
Noah, please, we're in public,
I said as he stared deep into my eyes. I felt a heat build up in my body as tears started to fill my eyes. Noah's face changed from anger to worry.
Vera, don't cry,
he said as he put his hand on my cheek. Defiant and interest at his intimacy, and I felt my mark start to burn. I quickly pushed him off, catching him off guard. He fell to the ground and looked at him in shock as I tried to control myself.
Never touch me,
I shouted at him. His face was filled with confusion and hurt.
I'm sorry,
I said before running to the forest. I reached the waterfall
where Noah's parents' wedding took place. I looked at my hand. A light red swole marking were seen. I was only wearing a sleeveless tank top and a 3/4, so it was too much exposed skin. I sighed in relief, seeing that my mark was not so clear for others to see unless they strained themselves. I should stop wearing sleeveless tops. Suddenly, a coat covered over me, and I sighed, knowing who it was. "Thanks," I said as Philip smiled and sat next to me. "Are you all right?" he asked, worried. "No," I whispered before I cried on his shoulders. Chapter 3. Veronica POV. "What I have called you for is something of top importance," King Alistair said as we nodded. I was at home eating my breakfast when a fire message appeared in front of me. King Alistair has called for an emergency meeting with the officials. All the commanders and even the elder were present at the meeting hall. Philip and I sat in our designated seat of the warrior department. I could feel holes being drilled into my head, and I didn't even need to look to know it was Noah. The night after the whole episode in the training ground, Noah visited my home. I immediately pretended to be asleep, but Mrs. Galena, who was ignorant of the drama between me and him, let him enter my room. The light was open since I was reading a book, but I still pretended to be in a heavy sleep. The door opened, and he stared at me for a few minutes. I was very tempted to see what he was doing, but somehow I felt he was staring at me. Then there was a lot of shuffling, and I knew he was looking through my things. I opened one eye and saw him looking through my album. He was smiling, and he went through our childhood photo, and I involuntarily smiled as well. He then turned to look at me, and I quickly closed my eyes. He then walked to me, and slowly, without making noise, sat next to me. I don't know what happened while I'm gone, but I will make things right. I know I have never told this, but whenever I am with you, I lose my control. My heart beats fast, and I feel overjoyed, and I just lose my control over my power. I know weird, right? But I know one thing. Ever since you saved me from that dark, horrible dungeon, I fell in love with you. I love you, and I will never let you go," he said before kissing my forehead. I was so in relief when he went after that, because I couldn't hold in both my emotions and powers. As soon as the door closed, I went and locked it before running to the bathroom. I was feeling hot and my mark burned more fiercely. I gasped as I saw myself in the mirror. Red iris and the swells on my skin are even more prominent. I stared in the bathroom for hours and only got out after I was sure I'm back to normal. But only one thing played in my mind. He has the same effects I have. "Veronica, are you listening?" King Alistair's sound went echoed in my ears. "Shit, I'm sorry," I said, bowing my head. "Listen, General Veronica, the matter I am about to discuss is very serious," he said as I nodded. "Recently, I've got a complaint from the people living in the east end of the terrain about their nature. The plants and trees are dying, and they all feel weak. The condition is serious there, and therefore I want a team under the guidance of Prince Noah to go and investigate," he said as we all nodded. "I want a daily report, and I want the problem to be solved soon. We cannot let the East be affected. They're our agricultural provider," he said as we all nodded. "A team of 6 will go. The team will consist of Prince Noah, Viceroy Violet, Warrior General Veronica, Second in Command Philip, Warrior Lion, and Warrior Hayden. You will leave today evening at the earliest," he finished as Noah, Violet, me, and Philip stood up and bowed. "General Veronica, please inform Warrior Lion and Hayden," King Alistair said as I bowed and nodded. "As you say." That evening, we arrived at the palace arena. "Be safe, everyone. I need daily report and good news," he said as we nodded. King Alistair used his magic and opened the portal to the east side. "At the other end, the village head, Zilla, will meet you," he said as we bowed to him before walking through the portal. As soon as we got out of the portal, we all covered our nose.
Oh, my lord, Violet said, gagging.
It's worse than we thought,
Philip said as I nodded. A pungent smile lingered in the air, and there was also a trace of casein scent. Casein is poisonous to a wizard, so there is definitely something bad going on here. Welcome, prince and warriors. I'm Zilla, chief of the village. A woman came bowing down. Her mouth and nose were covered by cloth, and so was the condition of the other two who assisted her.
Is it this over here?
Noah asked as she sighed and nodded. Yes, but people are protected for now. We put a spell around the village to keep the order and danger away, but the shield is weakening as days pass. I have also ordered no one to go out, but that also means a scarcity of resources. She said as Noah nodded.
Keep the order in motion. No one is to go outside after protection. For now, we will intensify the shield. Tomorrow, we will look into the matter.
He said as she nodded and bowed her head.
Please come, I'll show you the village,
she said as we followed her.
The sun had almost set and the forest seemed awfully quiet.
Too quiet. The wind was blowing and increasing the pungent smell. There was a light fog forming, and it was getting more difficult to see. Everyone had their power up shown for them to see, and since I'm powerless, I was in darkness. Suddenly, a bright blue orb shined in front of me, and I looked at my right to see Noah beside smiling. His orb shined the brightest among the other, as he shared his path with me. I smiled and walked along with him, looking ahead. My mark was stinking, but it was not so bad. I made Mrs. Colleen make me my medicine in the strongest. I didn't know if it would work, but as of now, I'm only reacting a little to his closeness.
Nature here is bad,
Noah voiced out as I nodded and looked around. The trees look weak as it bent downwards. Most of the leaves have fallen and dried up, and the grass looks almost dead. Once we reached inside the village, we were surrounded by the people. There were the type of tribes specializing in agricultural magic.
Okay, warriors, let's use our magic and strengthen the shield,
he said as we all nodded. Philip came to me and stared as I sighed. I know what you're thinking. I'm all right. Go work on the border, I said as he smiled and nodded before joining the others. Philip always feels that I get emotionally sad when I don't have the magic to help people. Honestly, he is partly true. I do feel sad, but there's nothing else to do. I must accept reality.